To be honest, no one is scared. I'm definitely not scared. So, like Shakun said, he turned into a social recluse. He was sitting in his room alone and apparently speaking in Spanish. I jumped onto the Narcos bandwagon a little later. You know, I was shooting, and sometimes at the end of the day, you come back home and like you want to watch a show, but you're so tired that your eyes are just like closing. So I was a little late to the party, but suddenly I started feeling really awkward because I was sitting in conversations. People were like, so, you know, we want to make this movie and make it like Narcos, you know. What about this idea? We can do it like a show, like Narcos. And you know, that character, like Narcos, like Narcos, like Narcos. And I'm like, oh my God, just keep quiet. Everything is about Narcos. This reference is just going out of hand. I cannot be like Joey sitting in this room, not aware of anything anymore. So eventually, I did watch Narcos, and then I understood. It made complete sense what a global phenomenon this show really is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's undoubtedly one of the most successful. Welcome to India.
I think you should sit in the middle, and we should sit around you. Yeah.
Hello.
So, Eric, this is your second trip to India.
This is my second trip. I was here December of last year for a movie called Bright, which we publicized here, and it was a lot of fun.
So, how are you liking it? I mean, tell us how was your experience been
I
in
love
India?
it. I think it's an amazing place. I'm sort of inspired by the diversity in the city. It's a very global city. It seems like someone told me there are 16 different languages spoken here. Is that possible? Is that
Probably
right?
more.
More?
Yeah.
Different dialects.
Yeah, different dialects.
And the food is spectacular.
You tried the food?
Oh my, yeah, so of course, I live for it. I went to a place called Trishna, which I like very much. I went to a place called Bombay Canteen, which I like very much. And what else did I
Okay, so you're good on food.
I love it, yeah, I very much so.
And I hear you're coming in from Singapore, so
yes.
How was it, how did they let you get through immigration? They're really strict about the drug rules.
Seriously, I mean, I think that, you know, we get searched a little extra, I think, because they assume that we're in the business. If we were smart, we would be in that business. That's a real business. The entertainment business is nothing compared to the drug business.
Yeah.
Well, you know, talking about this show, Eric, you've had such a long journey with the story, and Netflix especially hasn't just changed the way we watch television, it's changed how we create and how we tell our stories. And you conceived this idea 20 years back as a feature film, and today it makes for 30 hours of one of the most riveting television, and now actually 40 hours.
40,
yeah, 40 hours of one of the most riveting television show we have. Tell us a little bit about your journey with this idea and this huge journey that you've had.
I first heard stories about the drug war in the mid-90s. Communism had sort of gone away as the enemy that it was for so long, and all of a sudden this thing that had transformed America called crack cocaine had sort of taken such a toll, and it was a problem that we had ignored, and there weren't a lot of stories about it. There was sort of the typical Latin American drug lord who would show up in a Jack Ryan movie or some, you know, maybe a episode of Miami Vice, but it hadn't really been examined. And so I started to develop it as a film. And what I realized about movies versus television is that in a 2-hour format, you can't really get to know a character in a way that you could see him as anything but bad. And the reality is it's much more complex than that. And so the characters that we depict, first Pablo Escobar, then the Cali cartel, and now Felix Gallardo and the Guadalajara cartel, there's a certain complexity that can only be achieved in the longer format.
No, I totally agree with you, because that was going to be my next question. I love Pablo. Okay,
yes, like, you're supposed to.
It's strange. I want him to be my friend. I wanted him to win. Like, it was strange. And I was sitting in my room thinking, am I crazy? Like, is this wrong? I like the bad guy. But it was not just me. It was everyone. So, how much of that was put down to design? Did you...
Our goal is always to humanize these characters. You know, the mistake that we make is to think that any of these people are purely monsters. You know, they're not.
Like they're empathetic monsters.
They have to be. They have to actually show that they are the product of their environment, the economic disparity, corruption, the endless appetite for cocaine that America represents. It's not as simple, though I think we'd like it to be, that it is not as simple as a monster sprang forth from their mother's womb. These people were made. And I think the mistake that we make in the world, and certainly in America, is we're always looking for the monster, and as a result, we miss the monster taking shape behind us.
Right, I remember especially the last couple of episodes of season 2 when he goes and lives with his father, you know, and he tells him that I want to buy a piece of land next to yours. And it's almost like you stop looking at him as Pablo and you're looking at him as a father and son, you know. And then when he dies in the next episode, you have all these complex emotions you're feeling as an audience, because you don't want to really feel bad about a person who's killed thousands of people, but you do.
I wept for days.
Yeah, so I want to know is, were there ever conversations in the writer's room about, you know, compromising on show's morality? And
you know, we've never shied away from the awful things that he did. You know, we have, you know, Pablo Escobar blew up an airplane and killed, you know, 140 innocent people. He killed countless men, women, and children, and we never shied away from it. Nor did we shy away from the fact that he loved his children, and that he had in his mind, and I think this is true of everyone, we are all heroes or victims in our own story. And if you asked him whether he was a bad person, he would say absolutely not, and he would have an explanation. It would not be an excuse, but it would be certainly an explanation as to why he's not the bad guy. The Americans are the bad guys, or the Colombian government are the bad guys. And to a certain degree, he would be right.
Yep, and Pablo's gone, and hopefully, and actually I'm sure the world's a better place without him.
I agree.
And,
You do, as much as you hate to see him go, you also know that you need to see him
absolutely.
go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know,
And
they all meet the same ending. They either die in a hail of bullets, or they end up in a jail cell for the rest of their lives.
right. And now talking about season 4, you know, we've seen the first 2 seasons with Pablo Escobar and Medellin cartel, 3rd season with Cali cartel, and now the 4th season, Guadalajara cartel? Guadalajara cartel. And take us through, you know, you're taking us back in time, into late 70s, early 80s, and we're going to see a rise of another cartel. So tell us about this decision to take us back into time and give us a little sneak peek into season 4.
Well, the plan was always to take the story, once we've completed the Colombian chapters, we planned to move the show to Mexico. We had perhaps thought we would follow chronologically from 1996 onwards. You know, the drug war in Mexico is still going on today, and it's many of the same players. But what we decided when we started doing the research is we learned it's impossible to tell the story of the drug war in Mexico without telling the story of the Guadalajara cartel and Kiki Camarena. And that period, which was 1980 to 1985, was really the beginning of it. And so to try and jump midstream into it would have done viewers a disservice. At the same time, we felt like this could be seen as a standalone, for sure. It could be the beginning of the Mexican chapter, but it's also Narcos season 4.
So do you think people who haven't watched Narcos yet, I don't think many of them really exist, but those who haven't, they could start with season 4 and then go back and move forward chronologically?
Absolutely. You do not need to have watched seasons 1 through 3 to watch season 4. In fact, you could start season 4 and then watch seasons 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so I just want to know honestly, because something that constantly gets thrown to me when I'm doing interviews is, you know, do you feel fear? Do you feel, were you anxious to play this character? Were you anxious to do this? My big question to you is, we as an audience get very attached to, you know, the protagonists, the locations. How do you feel when you're moving from season to season? Like when you finished season 2, you knew Pablo was gone. Now, what was the big challenge that you faced? Did you feel that fear that, okay, people may not be as invested? Because I remember people going like, oh my God, Pablo's gone, now what's left? And then came the Cali cartel and they were like, oh my God, it's even better, like, you know? So how do you feel when you're writing the shows and when you're going from season to season? And now with season 4, it's another big challenge again.
It's incredibly stressful. I don't know why I did it to myself in the design where we replace characters and setting, and we take a show that people seem to like very much and then abandon many of the things that they like about it. So it's sort of horrible. But the challenge, what it allows us to do is continue to raise the bar, culminating in, I believe, our best season, which is season 4, which is coming out this week.
You think it's your best season?
I think so, for sure.
Okay.
I think that, and I'm sensing that people who watch it agree. So it makes me happy. I think that, you know, one of the reasons why we cast Michael Peña and Diego Luna is we had an obligation to make the best, most real, authentic version of this show, and that there's, you know, audience demand. If you ask someone to accept the fact that they're not going to see Wagner Moura anymore, they're not going to see Pedro Pascal anymore, you have to give them something that very quickly in the first 2 episodes they say, okay, it's different, but I like it, and there's enough of the same that I feel like it's still Narcos.
That's amazing. So I'm really curious to know the fact that you've lived with this show and the content for so long, you know, writing, editing, shooting, just creating. How do you feel when you watch your own show? Are you able to enjoy it like an audience, like feel the thrills, edge of the seat kind of feeling, the way we feel, you know, by biting our nails and heads off? Like, do you feel that way?
I watch the show and I mouth the dialogue around. I don't do that, actually. You know, I've now seen it so many times. It's hard to experience it with anything but exhaustion.
You're able to be objective.
Yes, I know it's pretty good. And for me, you know, the only times that I've had real success in my career, it's when I've done something that I wanted to see as opposed to something that I thought other people wanted to see. And Narcos is very much a show that if I had nothing to do with it, unless I absolutely hated the people that were involved and I couldn't bring myself to watch it, I would watch Narcos religiously.
Do you respond to feedback as well? I mean, when you get feedback for seasons, it's mostly been positive, but do you all keep a check for the kind of feedback you've gotten per episode?
I'm sure you both know that you could get 100 great reviews, which I'm sure you often do. It's the one bad review that actually sticks with you. So yes, there are times, you know, if I agree with criticism, I use it as reinforcement. Sometimes I'll read something about our show that I hadn't noticed. For the most part, the only thing that you know, Netflix compiles a tremendous amount of data. They do not share that data with me. They don't tell me, here's what people like, here's what people don't like. I do know anecdotally that the thing that people really appreciate is authenticity, is the reality of it. And so we aspire every chance we get to infuse that authenticity. And I think it's what works in global television. It's why, you know, Sacred Games to me is a show that I've been to Mumbai. This is the second time in my life. I don't know that much about it, but I watched that show and it feels real. And I believe that we all do. You can watch a show, as you have, that takes place in Colombia and Mexico, and you know the difference. If we were to have shot this show in Arizona, which, by the way, people do, and Netflix thankfully never suggested anything but shooting in Colombia and Mexico, but a lot of American television studios and companies would say, do it where it's cheap and where it's totally safe, although it was very safe in Mexico. And you might do that, but an audience will tell. They'll be able to tell. They'll know the difference.
Right. And, you know, apart from making such an entertaining show, I think you've also been kind of making a political statement with the show. You know, with every season, you seem to be zooming out. You know, we've seen Medellin, we've seen Cali, we're now going to Mexico. And it's a bit like The Wire. We are now seeing a bigger system at play. We are seeing this war on drugs with a different perspective. You know, it's not just Mexico anymore. So talk a little bit about that. Was that always the intent, is to broaden the lens on this universe and let the audience start seeing the real problem?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think we all, every nation on earth struggles with drugs. I mean, and the same cocaine that you find in Mumbai, you'll find in Tokyo, New York, London, Nairobi. It doesn't matter. It's the same stuff. And we still, you know, we all have the same struggle, and we all continue to focus on the supply of cocaine rather than the demand. And, you know, the star of Narcos is not Pablo Escobar or Felix Gallardo or Kiki Camarena or Colombia or Mexico, it's cocaine. And so we've been allowed to sort of, in making this show the way we're making it, to look at the entire sort of dark web that ties it all together.
Right. You said something very interesting. I read in an interview. You said that Colombia doesn't have a cocaine problem. They have a capitalism problem. America has a cocaine problem. You know, that's a great insight. Did you get this insight even before you went into the writer's room?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, they're fond of saying in Colombia, and it's true, that if the cocoa leaf grew in Virginia, it would be legal in the United States. The thing that, you know, nothing is as it's presented. You know, the problem with cocaine is not so much the cocaine, it was the billions of dollars that were leaving the US economy and going down to South America. Had that not been the case, I think we'd have a very different relationship with cocaine.
And Eric, this season, the first couple of episodes, you also co-written, right? And the IMDb page says you haven't, you know, you're coming back to the writer's chair after NYPD Blue. And what made you take that decision, is to come and sit in the writer's
chair? By the way, that is that's incorrect on IMDb. That is another Eric Newman that I have yet to encounter, who wrote an NYPD Blue episode in 1994. I was still in college.
Oh, so,
yeah, so that's not me.
Is this the first time then you are?
Another Eric Newman who is writes religious films, and that's not me. And then there are two Eric Newmans who
that's a note to IMDb.
There are two Eric Newmans who are murderers. One most recently,
wow,
who threw his wife off the balcony of a cruise ship. Yeah, it's strange. I guess it's a fairly common name, but no, that is not mine. I was a film producer for many years, and I found my way into television fairly late. And I really, if you told me all those years ago that I would end up in television, I would have thought I had failed, because television in those days was not what it is now. And I think shows, and Narcos is certainly one of them, and we take no credit for this movement, but the global television space has exploded with such amazing shows. I mean, you know, and Netflix is carrying a lot of them, Fauda and Sacred Games and Babylon Berlin, and it's
Money Heist.
Money Heist is great, yeah. So I think that's, to be a part of that, it, really, for me, the only way that I could have been satisfied in television, and I love it.
Right, and one thing I want to ask you as a producer is, you know, generally, because you've been in both worlds, feature and now TV, you know, for feature producers, they're always getting anxiety about the opening weekend and all that. As a TV producer, what kind of anxiety are you going through when you are about to open a show?
Well, we're so connected, and everything is so to the minute. We already know what people think of the show before. I mean, we've gotten a few reviews. We've done press in Mexico, Singapore, here. The guys went to Europe, you know, Los Angeles, obviously. And so we get a pretty good sense of how the show is going to go over. So there isn't a lot of anxiety beyond just wanting the fans of the show to watch it and feel like it continues to deliver what they've come to expect in the show.
Okay, so we're going to have a little fun now. We've gotten to know a lot about the show. Now we want to get to know you a little better.
Okay.
So we're going to play this rapid fire game, which we do a lot, which I've messed up in a lot of times in my life. But I'm going to keep it very simple for you, because I'm a kind human being.
Thank you.
So the idea is to answer rapidly.
Okay.
That's what's a rapid fire. Okay, so favorite scene or episode from Narcos so far?
The dance scene in season 3, episode 1, Pachahura.
Okay. Yeah, I love that scene. A secondary character from the show that deserves its own show.
Oh, that's easy. Don Neto, Joaquin Cosio, who's the co-star of season 4. He's great, right? Yeah, he's the best. He's an amazing. Our cast, the Mexican cast, these are some of the greatest actors I've ever worked with. That's amazing.
Okay, if you were to choose an actor to replace Wagner Moura, who would it be?
Tough one.
Yeah, really hard. Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay, favorite Spanish expression?
In Mexico, they say "no tiene madre," which means it's motherless, and it's a sort of a bad thing. If something goes wrong, Diego can explain it better than I can, but that's basically it, right? Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, one show that you wish you would have made. A show that you've watched that you
Oh, The Sopranos. It's the greatest show ever, yeah. Sopranos
Okay.
is great.
And a story that you feel needs to be told.
I think the real story of Wild Wild Country needs to be told.
Woohoo! Okay, so that was amazing. You did very well,
Thank you.
spoke very rapidly. This conversation and this evening would be totally incomplete without the stellar cast of Narcos Season 4. So please welcome the humongous stars, Michael Peña and Diego Luna. And adding the glitter and glamour through the room.
Welcome to India. Welcome to Mumbai, Michael.
Thank you,
You were
sir.
out grabbing some Indian food. Enjoy it.
Some Indian food? Yeah. Oh yeah, like in the morning I just show up. Like we did it yesterday. Just go to breakfast and whatever they bring, I'm just gonna eat it. It's all good.
Yeah, too sad we don't have you guys here for too long, but I hope you guys enjoy the city.
Shakun's a very good cook. The next time you come, he should make some parathas for you.
Right on.
I might be a cook, but I've never made parathas. just for the know. Michael, you are playing Kiki Kamarena, and
Yep.
he's had huge contribution in the war on drugs. Tell us about your attachment to the show. When Eric came to you with the story, had you already seen the show?
So I think me and Eric spoke about 3 years ago, and I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't watch Narcos. Like I've told some of you guys, it's because my son was 6, so I watched Pixar and Toy Story like 50 times, and I watched a lot of those almost by heart. And then after we had a great meeting, I watched 2 episodes. I remember that night, and I thought, wow, they captured Latin America better than most movies. And then I binge watched the first season. When the second season came out, binge watched that one. And then it's great that that's my research. And then I watched season 3 like a month before we started filming.
So you went from Ant-Man to Narcos. That's quite a shift in headspace.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I blame Narcos and you guys for my binge addiction now. Now I'm in the world of binge watching. I need.
Like all of us. Diego, tell me about your research, because I hear, unlike Pablo, Felix kept a pretty low profile and was sort of held back. There's not much footage that we have of him. So is that an advantage that you get to kind of create your own perspective, or what? Tell us a little bit about your research.
Yeah, well, it was. There's a period of time where he really liked to be on the newspaper, but he wanted to be seen more as a businessman. So he would be in the social part of the newspapers, like in the opening of these, and
Correct.
He had hotels, he had restaurants, but it was difficult to find images of his intimate world, While many of these characters are very flamboyant and this guy knew, I guess, the value on being discreet, in this world, and he's also kind of like I believe he's a different kind of drug dealer. He's a trafficker that is willing to leave everything behind and sacrifice everything. You have this idea of the drug dealer that is born in a little town, and when he makes tons of money, he builds the biggest and most horrible house in the town, and then he just like fixes the plaza and fixes the church, and and this guy left Culiacan and went to Guadalajara to build his empire because he saw an opportunity there. And if it was somewhere else, he would have gone, I'm sure. I think spending so much time near the governor of Sinaloa made him a little bit like a politician, the kind of guy that is willing to say whatever you want to hear to get what he wants. These people that are great liars and very charming. charming, and till you realize you
Like
have nothing else in your
con
pockets,
artists,
and
yeah.
they're gone. Yeah. So I think it was interesting to find out that I had to read a lot of the news and a lot of the commentaries of other people on him to understand who he was, you know.
And Michael, what about your research?
Well, I was also like reading a lot. Like I read, you know, Wikipedia and everything that I could find on Google. I read the Time magazine thing, and I wasn't really getting a real gist of what made him tick. You know, like what motivated somebody to actually put himself in harm's way in order for him to accomplish what he thought is justice. But I did have a bit more understanding when I talked to Mika Camarena, and you understand. I had just, you know,
That's his wife.
That's his wife.
Right.
Sorry. And so I had just done, you know, Ant-Man, which is like, you know, the guy wants to be likable, wants to love everybody. He's a lovable dude. He thinks he is. And this one, it was different. It was a person that was just fed up with the injustices, especially when he was looking at it and he can point it and point out the injustices and see that the police were involved, the local police, the federal police, and then politicians, and then the government, and nobody was doing anything about it. Everybody was turning, you know, a blind eye to it, and he got fed up with it. And then I think that's what motivated him, and also him trying to persuade people that this thing is happening, and they wouldn't believe him when it was out in plain sight. And I think that's what fueled him to you know, bring it upon himself to make some kind of difference.
Right. And you guys worked together before. You directed him in a film called Cesar Chavez.
That's
right.
correct.
Yeah,
So when you guys were working together on that film, did you guys already know you're going to work together in Narcos?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah,
talking
we talked
about
about it. We're like,
every
hey, in
day.
8
Is that the
years.
reason? Was that a casting coup then?
Yeah, you said, you know what, in 8 years we should do Narcos.
Yeah.
Before even it came out.
We
That
were
would be
working in Sonora, in the north of Mexico,
Hermosillo.
in Hermosillo, Sonora, and on a way that's really close to where where my character is from, where Felix is from, and we did experience Mexico, which I think it was very. I mean, we saved you a lot of money and time, I guess, because Michael and I were in the north of Mexico, in the fields of Mexico, where this story would have happened, you know, and recreating the 70s, which is the exact time where, you know, where this whole organization starts to grow, you know, and to. Yeah.
And back then, he was telling me what to do for 5 months. And then, you know, in this one, he was trying to tell me what to do for 8 months as a character.
Diego, also you
No, he didn't land that one.
But I understood it. I think it's okay.
I
In
got it.
print, it'll be good.
Diego, you also grew up in Mexico in the 80s. So in some way, this story is closer to home for you.
Yeah.
And it's more personal.
It is very personal. It is very personal also because it's the foundation of the mess we're living today. You know, what happened there in the 80s. And the case of Kiki Camarena it determines a lot on the relation between the States and Mexico. And I remember being in the 80s as a kid. I was 6 years old when this event happened. So I don't remember that. I guess my father was hiding this Mexico from, you know, for me, Mexico was something different. But then when the 90s came, I started having an opinion, worrying about the violence erupting and understanding how crucial the 80s were and how crucial what happened here. This basically is the story of something that got built that for a few years worked fantastically and then just fell apart and fell into a way, and I'm talking about what's not in this season, like that fell into a way that today we are living horror over there.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the same. It's spiraled out of control, but this is where it started.
where everything started.
And eventually, Eric, you plan to take take hopefully season 5 closer to present? Are we going to come, because this war on drugs is never going to end. It's
there gonna be a
an
season 5?
endless war.
I can neither confirm nor deny that it's season 5
I think
or whether
Is that a no comment moment?
I can confirm. They told me yesterday. I got a call. In a very special phone I have, and they said if it's a success in India, we will have.
All right,
counting on
it's on to us. There you
Can I
go.
have
That's
that
true.
special phone, please?
Yes.
I would like to receive some special calls.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So we can talk on November 17th.
All right. And Diego, going a little off track, last night when we spoke, you told me, you
Drunk. I was drunk.
No, before that, I have to ask you guys. I have to ask you guys. Wagner Moura, Pedro Pascal, these are characters and that people... Are you getting worried already?
No, I can't wait for this question.
Because if you've been asked this question a lot, I get it a lot. Sorry, I have to ask you the cliched comparison question. Because it's true, these are characters that we've literally looked up to, okay, for the past few seasons, and it could be a bit nerve-wracking, right, to step into these big, huge, humongous shoes. Or are you guys not thinking about it at all, treating this as a completely different independent show season, like it didn't even happen before this?
To be honest with you, I didn't think about it that way because it wasn't like Pedro Pascal had enough and he's leaving Narcos, and then they brought in little old me, like it was a completely different. And he wasn't. It wasn't like he played Kiki Camarena
Correct.
first 3 seasons, and then I came in, and they're like, "Wait a minute, what the hell's up with this?" It's so it was no pressure. I mean, there was enough work. We were constantly traveling and working, and had pages to memorize to be, nervous about it.
Too much to do to be nervous. Okay, then what about you?
No, there's no pressure.
I believe you.
I just got really sick. Sorry. No, there's no pressure. I mean, you cannot think that way. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this job. I mean, obviously, every time you see something, you're comparing that with the last thing you saw.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you.
And in fact, I see it. I see it differently. Those guys made this show so popular that it's the first time I don't have to worry for people to watch my work. That worries out of the question, It's like it's gonna come out and they're gonna watch it. Like the first feeling of being a theater actor is to be on your opening night and look out and see no one there.
Just your parents.
This time is not exactly, not even my father. So this time they're gonna be there, and then I saw it. It'll be very responsible not to see it, but I saw it, and I am really happy. And I think these guys left the bar here, and we left it here. And if there is a 5th season, they're gonna take it higher and higher because the team they put together is amazing. It's amazing, and I have to be very, very honest. It's very bold to say, let's start all over again, because I don't think this is the 4th season. This is Narcos Mexico. It's a different project. There's new directors. It's a new place. It's a new cast. Everything is different. So I think they complement each other pretty well. But I don't think you're going to be thinking about the previous seasons when you watch this.
I'm sure we won't. And that's amazing. That's really inspiring. I'm going to take this answer and I'm going to use it next time anybody else asks me this question.
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Diego.
Appreciate it
Before we
very much.
leave, we have something to say in
Yeah,
Spanish.
we have something very
You
embarrassing
were
to say.
going to say something
All right,
about
okay,
last
okay.
night when
But
you
you
remember
all right,
we
yes.
kissed
Going a little off
and
track,
all of
there's
that?
something that I got to know about Diego last night. His grandmother was born in India, right?
Yeah, I have a connection.
Tell us about your spiritual connection to India.
Oh, no, the spiritual connection is different.
Let's talk about it. He
Sai Baba,
knows
actually.
parts of Gita. He knew about Sai Baba. He spoke about Guru Ma, right?
Yeah.
Tell us all about it.
No, I don't think so. I mean, that is something I told you because I had 4 vodkas inside.
Well, we can get you 4 vodkas right now.
I don't see how this connects to Narcos. I guess I don't want this to be in the same
Well,
article.
spirituality is what we sell here instead of cocaine.
No, it's really
Don't
nice.
put that. You'll get me into trouble.
No, we really like that. It made us really happy that you have this connect to India. So it's like, you know, we're a little bit like, oh, you know us? Like, tell us about it.
All
you
the
know?
religious people are going to watch this show because you follow a spiritual leader in India. So talk about it.
Okay, no,
I'm
Shakun,
gonna keep
you
that
can't
for
trouble him
myself,
anymore.
as you
All right.
understand. It's so personal, but
Sorry,
I can
yes.
I can just say that I find so many similarities between the Indian culture and the Mexican culture, and
Yeah, you guys
and
have rice, we have rice. You have
No,
beans, we have beans.
exactly.
Rice is
Besides the
everywhere.
rice and curry, there is so much in common. The contrast you live when you go out, and the richness in terms of the cultural diversity is amazing, and it feels like being home here. And I think that's why you're gonna love Narcos Mexico.
Love it. And waiting
Thank
for
you,
it.
guys.
And Alia and I have to say something in Spanish.
We have something to say in Spanish and we're going to do
We
a terrible
don't know if
show.
it makes any sense because we found it on Google Translate.
Yeah, so I'm going to try my level best that I'm going to just pretend like I know Spanish. So I'll say line number 1, you say line number 2?
Yeah, let's try.
So, nos vamos a volver locos si.
Tenemos que esperar más. Okay, does
Could you
that make
translate that
sense?
for us?
You win. You win.
Did I do like a
yes.
terrible job?
I don't know what you said.
All right. Let me try this. Let me
Okay,
try
so
this.
could you help me? How would I say that?
Can you repeat what you said?
No, nos
No.
vamos a volver locos.
Huh? ¿Qué es eso? Nos vamos a volver locos.
You got to look at it and then
Ah.
nos vamos a volver locos.
Nos vamos a volver locos.
Tenemos que esperar más.
We're gonna go crazy because we gotta wait a little more.
Yes, we
We're
can't
going to
wait.
go crazy if we have to wait any longer.
16th of this month, Narcos Mexico. We can't wait.
Yeah, we can't wait. Thank you so much,
Thank
guys.
you so
for
much,
joining
guys.
us
Thank
today.
you. It was
Appreciate it.
wonderful
Thank
having
you
you.
so much.